right. Tonight's episode comes remote from my hometown of West Virginia, and I guess this evening is Steeven Orr, who um, did a webcomic with a mutual friend of ours, Harold Jent, and he also has a podcast of his own, and we've been kicking around, trying to do an interview together, and finally we were able to work something out, and I solved all my issues on the mobile end of this broadcast. So let me stop talking and go ahead and bring Steeven in and let him introduce himself.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, good.
So
hanging in there.
Oh, hanging in there? Yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah.
So before we get talking about the show or, your other, creative, projects, tell me, do you remember maybe the first comic book you read, or maybe the one that made an impression on you and made you want to read more and find out more about this, hobby or disease?
I know it was a G.I. Joe comic, and I'm fairly certain it was number 25. That when I'm looking at covers, that's the one that always seems to strike a bigger chord with me. My older brother had gotten into comics because through some, like, a box my grandma had bought just to have around the house when we go to visit. And so my dad, who was a letter carrier at the time, he put us in the car and he said, "Hey, there's a little comic book store in Lawrence, Kansas. Quality Comics. They're not around anymore, but he took us in there. It was just this little out of the way place, and told us we could pick out a comic. And I went straight for the G.I. Joe because, I was really into the cartoon when I was just a scotch bit younger. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was G.I. Joe number 5, which was on the shelf. So whenever that came out, and then my brother then talked my parents into allowing him and I and our little brother to each have 2 Marvel Comics subscriptions back in the day when you could get a subscription for Marvel Comics. And I went with G.I. Joe and Captain America. So that's where I cut my teeth.
Yeah, very nice. And, so, I mean, what would you like to kind of talk about your, because as I mentioned, you and our mutual friend Harold Jennett did a web comic for, how many years did that run for?
Well, off and on for 2 or 3 years, maybe. I think we did almost 100 strips. It was, well, it was called Our Adventure Continues. It's still out there. ouradventurecontinues.com. Harold still pays for that URL every year. He'll shoot me an email and he goes, "Well, I guess I'll pay for this again this year." Well, I may stop one of these years, but he and I talk about, sometimes we toy with the idea of coming back, and we have an idea of like 10 strips or something when if we're ready to come back. If he's kind of in the same boat I am, where he married, have kids, full-time job, and not a lot of time on our hands. And
I joined that club too.
Yeah. So and he for him to draw one of those strips, I could do like 10, because I would write most of them. He and I would collaborate a lot with because if you know anything about Harold Jennett, that dude will throw out like 9 million ideas within a 30-second window. And so he and I would come up with a lot of ideas, and then I would script them out, and I could throw together 10 scripts in a day. And when it comes to then creating that art, it takes a lot longer than 10 strips a day. So but yeah, it was a comic about fictional versions of him and myself, just getting through life in silly ways. And we played with our we emphasized certain aspects about ourselves, like Harold is the grumpy one, and then I'm the stupid one who is happy all the time. And that's It originally started as it was supposed to be all meta about a couple of guys creating a web comic, and then it just kind of went from there to I think we robbed a bank at one point. We went to jail, but it was a whole lot of fun, and I'm really quite proud of them. Like I said, they're still up there. If anybody ever wants to go have a look at them, but it was.
I made a cameo appearance in one of them.
Did you?
I was it was the movie theater.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. That we had Harold liked the idea of like a police force that basically went after people who had bad manners in public. I think they were called the Public Manners Patrol or something like that. And he and I were each because at one point in the strip, the storyline, I'm going to use air quotes when I say that we had stopped, our characters had stopped working on the comic, and we had to go get real jobs, and my character got this job working in the Public Manners Patrol, and yeah, the strip you're talking about is somebody is in the movie theater talking really loudly, and I think Harold tases him and tells him to stop it. And he was he had like a uniform with a nice policeman's hat on, and then I had like a helmet, a policeman's helmet, like an English British policeman, like a bobby helmet, but then it had a freaking little light on the top of it. He was always really good about making me look really dumb, which was the point of the comic. But yeah,
it was a fun strip, and I remember for I think it was for one of the CGS shows, he was offering free sketches, and I had him draw you as a Simpson character.
Nice. I don't think he ever showed me that.
Oh, I'll have to send it. I'll have to send it to you. I think I scanned it, but that was pretty cool.
He was often he would often send me sketches of me, which is really weird. He'd get bored one day and he'd be like, I'm just gonna draw, and next thing I know, I'd get an email with just sketches of me, just doing weird things. I don't know. I just always thought it was funny.
Now he also am I right that he also did like some covers for some of your prose work?
He did the cover to the first book I wrote, Holidays Gold. And he actually came up with that title as well. So, but yeah, he did that. It was a retelling of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and so he came up with this idea for the cover with Goldilocks on the front with a pair of sunglasses on. I think she might be straightening them, and then you can see the three bears in the reflection of her sunglasses.
Cool. Now, along with the webcomic and your prose, you also do a podcast. How long have you been doing that, and kind of what prompted you to kind of want to go that route?
Well, I originally started in 2006, and then I podcasted for like 3 years till 2009, and then I had to give it up because I was spending way too much time on it, and at the time I had 3 very young children, and I was not being the man of the house, and so I walked away from it, and then came back in 2018. If I had stayed podcasting, this would be my 16th year, but it's really about 6 years altogether. But I think for a lot of us, I had stumbled across Comic Geek Speak, and I knew somebody online who had started their own podcast, and she this guy who I can't even remember his name, but he had this idea to start a podcasting network. He was trying to make some money, and so he was just looking for people who might be interested in podcasting. And I reached out to him, and he said, "Yeah, go for it." And he hosted it as far as the website, and he paid for everything. And in fact, my first 2 episodes I recorded using a $10 desktop microphone that I bought at Walmart. and I had no internet at home at the time. The only access I had to internet was at work. And so I would record the podcast at home, and then the next day I would drive to the library during my lunch and upload it through a computer at the library. And he, after my second episode, he sent me a freaking like $80 microphone in the mail. Said, here, you need a better microphone. And eventually the dude just kind of realized he wasn't going to be making any money off of any of the podcasts that were part of his network. They were called Lynx Broadcasting, Lynx like the cat. And if you listen to my old episodes, which I'm reposting on the feed, I start most of them saying that they're a Lynx Broadcasting production, because that was part of the deal. But eventually he just said, yeah, I'm not gonna do it anymore. But you can have the URL and all this. And but then about that time I just stopped. But then I came back in 2018 and haven't really stopped. So it's like volume 2 of Just Another Fanboy. And in fact, I lost all of the original episodes, 137 or 131 of them. And do you know Ed Moore?
Name's familiar.
He does a number of podcasts. He used to be on the Geek Speak boards as Miskatonic.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know him, but I know the name.
Right. Yeah, that's I run into a lot of people on Twitter, and I'll be talking to him for months, and then find out, oh, you were so and so on the Geek Speak boards, and had no clue. And he was one of those. I had been talking to him for a while on Twitter, and then realized he was who he was. But he does a podcast with Chris Parton called Boom Addiction and Comic Addiction, and they record on Thursdays, and they put it out live on YouTube when they're recording. And so I was watching one night, and they mentioned Just Another Fanboy, and I happened to mention that I lost all the episodes, and Ed says, oh, well, I think I have all of them. And he had all of them, but I think 3. And so he sent them to me, and I've been putting them up once a week on the new feed. So those have been really fun to go back and listen to, because they're a decade old at this point.
So kind of what's the focus of your show? I mean, I know it's a lot of what you're. I write that it's a lot of what you're reading at the time that you talk about.
It's just general geekery. The original tagline when I started it back up again was a celebration of all the things I love in life, such as music, comics, movies, TV and books. And it's mainly about comics, and I don't buy new books anymore, can't afford it. So it's just anything that I get through, like Comixology Unlimited, or books I read on I have the DC app and the Marvel app, and it's just, and then I'll every once in a while I'll go up and dig through my collection. And like recently I'm reading Comet Man from Marvel Comics back in '86. And it was a 6-issue series. And so I'll be talking about that once I finish it. I just finished issue 2 the other night. But yeah, it's not, if you're looking for a show that's about the new books that are coming out and what I think about the new, but this is not the show for you. This is more of a nostalgia, whatever I feel like talking about that week. I have certain books that I'm reading, like ElfQuest and the old Marvel G.I. Joe, and Madman from the 90s. That was like my favorite comic from back in the 90s. But I read those one issue at a time. That sounds pretty stupid. Everybody reads them one issue at a time. But then I'll read an issue, and then I'll do an episode about it. And then maybe a month later, I'll read another issue and do an episode about it. So, if you're listening to the show, you'll know that once a month or so, you'll probably get an episode about an ElfQuest book, and you'll probably get an episode about a G.I. Joe book. But at the same time, if I watch a movie or something on Disney Plus, one of the new Marvel shows, and I feel like talking about it, that's what I'll do, because for me, I joke around all the time that podcasting for me is because my family, they don't want to hear me talk about this stuff because they don't care. They don't read the comics. They don't watch a lot of the stuff I watch. So I have to talk to somebody about it, and so I talk to a microphone, basically.
Well, I'm in the same boat. I have to schedule, my thing that I want to watch around times when I'm by myself, because I'm not going to watch The Boys when my
Right.
5-year-old's around.
Right.
And I just subjects I don't want to have to broach at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not ready to explain that, so we'll just wait. Yeah, my kids, thankfully, my kids are all. My youngest is 16, so anymore, I just I'll say, I'm watching this. If you don't want to watch it, go to another room. But yeah, when they're young like that, oh yeah.
So what have you watched recently that you really kind of has stuck out from you? Because there's a lot of stuff out there. I don't know what you've watched.
Ms. Marvel, really enjoyed that. I still got
to watch the final.
Yeah, it's good. It's good TV. Only Murders in the Building on Hulu.
Love that show.
It's phenomenal TV. All three of those main characters, they're just wonderful. There's at least one moment in every episode where I'm like, oh, I love Steve Martin's character the best. No, I love his. It's that I change my mind throughout each episode, and of course, you get to the end of an episode, and you gotta wait a week to find out what happened. You can either just wait until they're all done and then binge them, but I'm actually quite enjoying this thing of getting back to watching, one episode a week, because then I have something to look forward to. It's like, I know there's going to be a new episode of Only Murders in the Building tomorrow, so I really look forward to Tuesdays. And when the next Marvel or Star Wars show comes on Disney Plus, I'll be looking forward to those.
I think it's She-Hulk.
I think She-Hulk is next. I know there's a Star Wars one coming up, but I don't think that's coming out for a bit.
Is that with Rosario Dawson's character? I don't know. I just watch them as they come out.
Yeah, I know that they do have that one, the Ahsoka. They've got one called Andor. I don't know which one's first. I don't stay on top of that stuff as much as I used to. I just if it pops up on Twitter, hey, this is coming out next week, I'm like, hey, or just I have that Just Watch app on my phone, so I check it every day to see what's popping up on the streaming services that I subscribe to. And yeah, I'm not combing. I used to just be all about combing through the internet and making lists of things that I was looking forward to, and now it's just, I'm just too old. Just too old for all that crap now.
Oh, definitely. Too old. Yeah. So I know that you were on vacation recently, and you had some guest hosts, friends.
Yes,
of ours.
Yeah, that was fun. When I started Just Another Fanboy back up in 2019, because I started with something different in 2018. I switched over to Just Another Fanboy. The whole idea of doing seasons, because you can do seasons now with a lot of the podcast providers. I like the idea of doing, a bunch of episodes and then just taking a break for a couple of weeks and then doing a bunch of more episodes, because I can't imagine doing this just every single week. And, I think I would burn out really quick. But this last time going between season 6, because season 7 just started last week. I typically would take 2 weeks off, and I'd throw in like a couple of bonus episodes while I was off. I would throw together some best of type of crap, clip shows and whatnot. And this time I thought I decided to do something new this year, where I was going to podcast from January to the end of May, take June off, and then podcast from July to November, and then take December off. And that's what I was going to do until I just can't do it anymore. And I told myself, well, during June, you're just not going to put any episodes out. That the whole point of taking a break is to take a break. But at the same time, I'm like, if I don't put any episodes out, people are going to stop listening. And so I just had this idea. I thought, I wonder if anybody would be willing to guest host episodes. And I just started emailing people and messaging, podcasters that I'm friendly with on Twitter, and said, hey, what do you think about doing this? And I think I had about 99% participation. I think there was one person who told me they couldn't do it, and it's because they were actually going on vacation. And so while I was on vacation, I didn't go anywhere. I was home, and I'd still, these folks would send me the episodes, and then I would upload them. But that was kind of fun because, I had folks like Peter Rios, Harold, did a couple episodes,
and Yanni, I think,
Yana Lanovich.
Yana Lovick.
Yeah, Yana. And
I only know because he lives just up the river from me in Ohio. Gosh, I'm in West Virginia. I live in New York, but he lives. He and I met him through the comic book geek speak community. I think it was episode 300 where they had the big thing in Reading. And it was like, I was looking to see if anybody needed a ride down. He's like, I saw that he was in Troy, New York. So I talked to him, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm fine." Turns out he was a little late because his car broke down. And but no, he's a good guy.
Yeah. And I never got to any of those, 200, 300 celebrations. But I always envied everybody who went, and I would look at the pictures and listen to the episodes. But yeah. It was really fun because I got so many different types of episodes. I got one, Frank Rincon from Half Hour Wasted did one, and he's, when Frank's going to put something together, it's going to be kind of weird. And then Bill McGonnell from Half Hour Wasted, he did an episode too. And if Frank's going to do something weird, Bill's going to do something even more weird. And he, just a lot of really different types of episodes throughout the month of June. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I've really myself I used to listen to Half Hour Wasted, and a lot of those. Got to a point where there's so much, and I was so busy, and then then I started doing what I do, and you can only do so much.
This is true. Yeah, there's just so much out there. It's just you just can't consume everything. And I work from home now. I've been working from home for 2 years, and so when I was driving back and forth to work, which is like a half-hour drive there and then a half-hour drive back, that's when I would listen to my podcasts. And now, since I'm not driving to work, I don't really listen to a lot of shows anymore because I don't have the time. It makes me sad.
I know that even though I'm in the office 3 days a week now, and even when I'm in there, I listen to stuff, but lately I've been listening to the Marvel radio dramas.
Yeah.
Wastelanders and so again, I love the podcast, but it's just like you said, there's only so much you can consume in the time that you have, and especially if like we're making our own content too, then that's even less.
Yeah, and Just Another Fanboy is not the only one I do. Ed Moore and I do a show. We just started a show a number of weeks back called the Superman Super Show, where we read Golden Age Superman from the beginning. and then one issue at a time we do an episode about them. We luckily we can get together once every couple of weeks and do two or three, record 2 or 3 episodes and put them in the bank. But yeah, that's another one I do, and it's a lot of fun because I've always considered myself a big Superman fan, but never read any of that Golden Age Superman, never before. And reading them all for the first time is some pretty crazy stuff. And we get to talk about them about half hour at a time every week.
Very nice. I mean, for your your broadcasting, you plan to maybe are there any like future plans for it, or are you just kind of going with the flow? Because again, it sounds like we're the same. We have obligations, jobs, and then when we can find time to do stuff like this.
Yeah, I'm really bad about I'm like the dog who sees a squirrel and runs after it. I get these ideas and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make a podcast out of that. And I make a podcast and I do 2 or 3 episodes, and then I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that anymore. It takes too much. I got other stuff to do. And Just Another Fanboy is the one that I've been doing steadily. But while I was doing that, I've tried to do this like one-man audio show, Steeven Orr, and I still have stuff that I want to do for that if I ever have time to sit down and record it. I've been trying to do a video show called Event or Else, in which I talk about event comics 1 issue at a time. And oh my God, if you've ever put together a video with clips from comic books and it's so time consuming. I don't know what I was thinking diving into that. I've successfully done 12 episodes on Marvel Superhero Secret Wars, and I've done 8 episodes about Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then I've just kind of stalled. I'm still working on the 9th issue, and then I have the Superman Super Show. As far as what I'm actually putting out steadily, it's Just Another Fanboy and Superman Super Show. I had another one show that I did that was just for my patrons called My Other Podcast, and I've kind of stopped doing that. But I will get back to it because I have an idea for the next episode. But yeah, it's just I joked on an episode a while back that I'm like the Rob Liefeld of podcasting, because that dude back in the 90s would just if you were collecting back in the 90s, there was always an issue on the shelf each week of a book that Rob Liefeld had created. He may not have worked on it, but it's like, here's another Rob Liefeld book, and it would go about 2 issues, and then it would be done, and then nobody would work on it anymore. And that's how I feel like I am. I just, I got to do this, and then I do it, and then realize this was a stupid idea. You don't have time for this, and then just stop, and then do something else. So
I know that like you have, like I have a couple interviews that I did that I still have to. They've been sitting in the hopper since about October, and I feel really bad.
Yeah.
But luckily, like 3 or 4 of them are with creators that are currently nominated for Eisner. So I'm hoping I can maybe start rolling those out this week.
Yeah. Yeah, and you said you have at least one kid that you said was 5. How old are your kids?
Just have the one.
Just the one. That's enough. It
is enough.
Yeah, and at that age, see, I have a lot more time now than I did back in 2006, 2007 when I was first doing the podcast, because my kids can take care of themselves, and they don't, they actually like having me around. Yeah, that's kind of nice, but I don't, I have a lot more time on my hands, but still not a lot of time. So your time will free up in 10, 15 years or so, just that's your goal. Just work towards
just right around the corner, huh?
Yeah. Another decade, and then I'm really going to start hammering down on this.
And I'm really going to make something of it.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
no, it's fun, and maybe we can collaborate on something in the future.
Yeah, no doubt. That's,
Um,
the big difference between, with podcasting today and podcasting back then when I first started, the big difference is that back then you had that Comic Geek Speak community, and there was that message board, and I think a lot of us met through that message board and then have gone on to do a bunch of various creative things. And nowadays, it's like Twitter is not quite, it's not like it's not like the message boards used to be. Facebook is not at all like the message boards used to be. And, it's just, there's just not a sense of community like there used to be. And of course, there are like 10 million comic book podcasts out there now. But yeah, it's just, so I'm always interested in meeting fellow podcasters and making that connection and teaming up to do something at some point. Cause I find that crap fun,
oh yeah, it is, and so, but no, I like I said, this was a very long overdue, get together between the two of us, because I know we started. I think we really started talking about doing something back in 2020 when we were just kind of sitting
Yep.
around.
Yep. Yep.
But no,
Yeah. That's kind of an interesting topic too. If is the during the quarantine part of the pandemic, how many freaking podcasts sprung out of just that year and a half or so, because people were just home doing nothing.
that's kind of what kicked me in the rear to start doing, interviews this way was when I was the community blogger for the Times Union newspaper website, then
Yeah.
that was kind of an outlet. And then once they ended the blogs because some wacko was spreading misinformation and made a it was funny, but it was a not very nice remark about one of uh, the areas. She's a rep. How she's in the House of Representatives, and she's a nut.
Yeah.
she was she's one of the nuts in the house.
And there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
Yep.
But I figured this, since I wasn't going to conventions, and this was the next best thing, and
Yeah.
kind of parlayed that blog thing into this, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which, like you, I wish I had more time and energy to put into stuff like this, but unfortunately, it doesn't pay the bills.
Right. Much as we'd like it to. I mean, I think most of us would agree that, obviously, even though it doesn't pay the bills, we're still doing it because we enjoy it. But yeah, wouldn't it be nice if this is all you had to do? Get up every morning and go, all right, what am I going to podcast about today? But there are some lucky few who get to do that. But
True. So where can people find your shows, your other works?
well, the website I usually give out is stevenorelse.com. And it's spelled just like it is there on the screen, STEEVEN or else.com, ORR. Every show every episode that I do from whatever podcast I do it's posted there. Otherwise, if all you're interested in is just another fanboy, it's just anotherfanboy.com. But I'm trying to use the stevenorelse.com to just consolidate everything. You you can buy my books there. You can I'm starting to repost the web comic over there as well, very slowly. That's, because we don't have a lot of time. But yeah, it's just the tagline of the website is where it's all about me. And
Nice.
yeah, so SteevenOrr.com.
Again, it was really fun finally meeting you in person. I think when I was writing for the blog, I interviewed, we did an email interview with you and Harold. I did one with you and Harold about the
I remember that
strip.
Yeah.
No, I mean it was fun talking to you, and like I said, I've said this like 5 times now that I'm glad we finally got to it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, I was. It was kind of nice to get that Facebook message from you a couple weeks back. It's like, hey, we need to finally do this, and I'm like, right on. Let's do it. I'm always ready.
It was probably during one of my manic moments. I tend to do that, or another thing I do is like I'll get all these interviews, people I want to touch base with and interview, and then it's like life happens. Yeah, and it's like
no, I'm I would love to do interviews for my show, and I have a list of people that I would like to reach out to. And I started for a while. I was doing I had various folks on, but it's going to sound weird because I remember telling this to Peter Rios once, and he thought I was just giving him crap, but I really have very bad social anxiety. It's like once I can get on something like this, I'm fine. But the idea leading up to I don't never acquired the taste for it. So I don't. Yeah. But so it's like I have this list of people, and the first step is, well, I could email this person, and then I start thinking, well, what if they actually want to do it? Then that means I have to actually sit down and talk to them. What am I going to talk to them about? Should I write down a bunch of questions beforehand? And I've often found that as long as I have 1 or 2 things to talk about, I can have a conversation with somebody for an hour or so, and something always leads into something. But the idea just fills me full of nerves. And even then, this same thing, really nervous.
Just you have no reason to be nervous with me.
I know that
usual awkward interview that everyone else gets.
Logically, yeah, I know that, but yeah, it's my I distinctly remember the moment that my wife realized how bad my social anxiety is, because once she figured that out, because she's a very social person, and so if ever we are in a group of people, she's her role is to do the talking. Mm-hmm. And I stand next to her, and she'll this is my husband, and so I don't have to go up and introduce myself to people. And so, it's nice to have a partner like that. But yeah, not a lot of time. And then the idea of doing interviews just fills me. I'm just a bundle of nerves. And it's so stupid.
Well, you're more than welcome to, if you want to, sit in on one of mine, then, I'll keep you in mind if I, send me a list of, and I can't, I mean, I'm not going to be getting a Grant Morrison. I totally lost the Rob Liefeld interview like years ago after talking so much.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that he gets so much crap on the internet that my initial instinct is always to defend him. Just because, just to be contrary. It's like I see somebody giving him crap online, I want to defend him. And then at the same time, some of the stuff he does, it doesn't really, you can't really defend. So, I'm
Like
on the fence with that
like
guy.
his inability to draw bodily anatomy.
Yeah, and Harold and I have gone into this conversation before because I remember the first time I saw his New Mutants, and it was, oh my gosh, it was like something I'd never seen before, and it was totally amazing, and just this refreshing new art. And I was a huge Liefeld guy back in the 90s. I have my 4 or 5 copies of X-Force #1, just like everybody else. I have 2 or 3 copies of Youngblood #1, just like everybody else. And it wasn't until I think he got on Captain America. That's when I started. That's when his sheen started to wear off. That's when the luster started to dim. Because, good God, I go back and try to read that stuff nowadays, and I don't. I look at the pictures and I feel nostalgic, but I try to read some of the stuff, and because he's put out, he's still putting out stuff. He put out a Snake Eyes book not that long ago, and I got the first issue and was just, why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep spending money on this stuff? And
I can't quit you.
Right, exactly. It's, but he's always going to have a special place in my heart, and I'm always going to, in just gut reaction, is going to be to defend him.
It might be like up here, but
right. But yeah,
that's cool. And
I hear his podcast is really good, though. I've never listened to it, but I hear it's kind
I
of
didn't
fun.
even know he had one.
Yeah, Robservations. He's been doing it for a couple of years now. It's I've heard good things about it, but it's another one of those shows that I'm never going to listen to because I just don't have time.
Yep. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to, kind of pitch about your stuff, or just?
No,
I'm sure we could find a topic and we could sit here for the rest of the evening.
Oh boy, I mean, I follow you on Facebook, and I think you and I could probably just sit down and just complain about the world and the state of the country for hours. And it's I sometimes get really angry at myself because in my youth, when I was in my 20s and even my 30s, I could have cared less about what was going on in the country. And that's when I should have been angry about things. That's when I had energy. That's when I had nothing to lose, and now I'm married with kids, and I'm getting ready to turn 50 years old, and I get so angry about things, but just don't have the energy to really do anything other than put out a long tweet.
I will say this: my political views have done a 180 in the past. Since around the 2016 primaries.
Yeah.
I mean, I was voting for the other. I was, voting, for the good guys. But
I have always leaned left, but I've never leaned so hard as I have over these last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Yeah, since, and you know what? I told people during those primaries, people were I'd be at work and we'd be in a meeting, and somebody'd go, "Did you see that? What Trump did in that debate? He's such a moron. I don't know what he thinks he's doing." I said, "He's going to be our next president. You need to prepare yourself for that.
Yeah.
He will be that's never going to happen." And that's because people thought that. That's why he became our next president.
And it could happen again.
It could totally happen again. It scares me. And I don't want to get all political here because I try to keep it out of my show just cause. But I got 2 daughters, when freaking Supreme
Yeah.
Court did what they did a while, it's like, I don't know. That was a bad day. And
Yeah, well, I think it was a bad day for all around.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
for the smart half of the country.
yeah. And we live in Kansas. We have an election coming up on the 2nd. And one of the things on the ballot is to vote on whether or not to make abortion illegal is what they're going for. Because we're supposed to vote no. We're not supposed to vote yes. We want to vote no. We don't want to make it.
Right.
We support our women and their right to choose. But one of my daughters is 18, and she's so excited that she gets to vote about this. And I've been reading articles about how voter registration, since that happened in the state of Kansas, shot up by like 200%. And so that makes me feel a little, confident. Hopefully it means it's, hopefully that's people like,
hopefully it's a good 200%.
Because it's usually because Kansas has always been a red state, just always has. And I live in a very small town, and we, everybody around me has their little signs out for all the crap that I'm against. And we put our Biden sign out in the front yard, and we put our Black Lives Matter sign out in the front yard. And I remember my dad coming by once, he goes, because he agrees with me, but he goes, well, I don't know if you want to put that sign up, you may get the house shot up. Yeah, I hope not, but we gotta take a stand.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't like I said, we could probably talk for hours. Just
raging. We'll have to. Maybe we can get Harold and Yanni and all on, and we can all just kind of. Because I haven't really talked to Harold in a long time. I mean, he did some great couple commissions for me recently, but really haven't. And I feel like I'm the one that's the bad friend.
Yeah, I talk to him every once in a while. We don't talk like we used to. There used to, especially back when we were doing the strip, but there wouldn't be a day that went by that we weren't chatting through Gmail chat, Yeah, I need to, we talk every once in a while, but not like we used to. I need to reach out to him again, but.
Same here.
Yeah.
Well, again, it was fun chatting with you, and
we'll
have to do it again soon. And maybe we can, we'll come up with a topic that we can kind of just banter about.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on.
And now we'll be recording it in like 2024, 25.
Right. Yep. We'll pick a topic that's now it's popular, it's in the public mind, and then by the time we start talking about it, nobody will know what we're talking about.
There was this thing called TikTok.
Yeah. I've never been on TikTok.
I created an account just to kind of make myself feel good, because I'm very poor at promoting myself.
Oh, it's hard to promote yourself. It's really difficult to promote yourself without sounding like a jerk. It's Keith Cunningham.
Oh yeah.
He and I had the exact conversation because he wrote a book recently, and I had him on the show, and he had gone on Twitter, and he basically said, so for those of you who've self-published, how do you promote yourself without coming across like a jerk? And I told him, you don't. It's really difficult, and chances are nobody's going to listen to you anyway. So trying to promote yourself on places like Twitter and Facebook, it's like whispering into a hurricane. There's so much other crap out there that it's and so so once you come on the show, you might you're only going to get about 30 people listening to it, but maybe one of those 30 people will buy your book, and that's promoting yourself it's not easy. It's a pain in the butt. If you can figure out how to do it, those are the people that are successful, you know, and a lot of those folks, they didn't get their audience just going out there and promoting themselves. They've built that audience, you know, over a decade, and now they're cashing in on it. You know,
Well, there's our topic. How do we better promote ourselves and cash in on this thing?
cash in, make that shut up. This is we want to make more money show.
Definitely. All right. Well, you know, let's put a wrap up this session, and we'll definitely have to touch base sooner rather than scheduling something and getting it done after 2 years. I mean, this show still might go out in another 2 years. You know.
Yeah.
So the only shows that I really try to get out in a timely fashion are the Kickstarter ones, because I know that they're
those have a time frame. Those
All right. Well, I'm going to sign off here, and have a good evening, and we'll be listening.
Yeah, Chad, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.